Hey folks, welcome to Calm Your Farm. Today I wanted to talk about being a hypocrite. I've always been pretty harsh on myself and have high expectations of myself. Within that is honesty and integrity, which are really high idealisms of mine. They're my highest ones. In fact, I thought that honesty was my highest value until recently I sat with a lot of my fears and I identified that connection was actually my highest value and that honesty and integrity is actually an idealism. And it was there because I was scared. So I had fears of being abandoned, of being betrayed, of being hurt. And when there's honesty and that full integrity and deep connection, then I felt safer. So it was interesting processing that and working out with my fears. So within that, I have high expectations in my relationships because I expect honesty, and I ask that of everyone that I want to have a relationship with. And if they can't give me that, then I'm not going to have a relationship with them because it's not healthy if there's not that open and honest communication. And, you know, that's something that I had to learn throughout my life too, because I wasn't being completely open and honest with myself even, because I wouldn't allow myself to feel certain things. And that in turn makes me a hypocrite, and I'm okay to own that. So in that, I had to learn how to sit with my emotions and how to allow my emotions to be felt and seen and heard. And then I had to learn how to share those emotions if I needed to. And learning not to react to things that I was triggered with was a really interesting process. So this last week I had an incident where someone that I'm very closely connected to wasn't being accountable for themselves, and they weren't being honest with themselves or in our relationship. And I thought I was being calm, but in reflection I was actually being reactive. And reactive in the fact that while this person was yelling and accusing me of things that weren't true, that were just in their head, I was defending myself and saying, no, that's not right. That is just in your head. That isn't actually what happened. I've never said those things. I've never done those things. It's all just fears in your head. So by me saying that, it was actually me reacting. It was actually me reacting from my triggers. It wasn't actually me being honest with myself and being honest with this person, really. Like, I wanted to call them out on their stuff that wasn't right. But that's not something that I can do. That's something that they have to do themselves, to bring themselves to that accountability and to that honesty with themselves, because they're acting out on their fears. And, you know, hurt people. We all know that. But for me, I needed that big kick up the bum to realise that I was being a hypocrite and that I was acting out on my fears in that, and I was actually reacting. And there's a difference between aggressive reacting and harmful reacting as well. So, you know, you've got to make sure that you do keep yourself safe. But at the same token, by me entering that ring in that calm manner, I was still entering that ring that this person was fighting me with. And it was a big realisation. And I had an impromptu coaching session, I'll call it bitching session, with a beautiful friend of mine, psychologist and life coach. And she was pushing my boundaries in that a little bit, because she's right. I was actually reacting and I didn't think I was. So being able to sit with someone when they're hurting and not defend yourself is a really hard thing to do. But I realised that I was defending myself from my triggers, even though, yep, it's probably the right thing to do. What they needed right then was for me to not think about me and for me to just be there for them. And that's a choice. I don't have to have unhealthy relationships in my life, but this person's really important to me. And I know that they're acting out on their fears and they're not acting out from their heart space of who they really are. And that's why, for the moment, I have to put up with that. I have to put my things aside and just stay there. And I don't have to call them on that. And that's a really hard thing to do, to step back and not stand up for yourself, to not, I'm trying to think of the right word here. It's not about reacting. It's about staying present with them in their perception of the world. Even though it's just their thoughts that are creating that perception, they're still feeling it. And there's another fear underneath that. And then there's another fear underneath that. And there's another fear underneath that. And we can't pretend to know what they are, no matter how well we know a person. And that's the amazing thing about modern psychology. We've still got that 17% of someone's personality and why they are and who they are that we will never understand, that we can't diagnose, that we can't say, oh, well, this is why. We can't categorize it. So you can be really good at your job. You can be really good at working out, what people's fears are and doing processes and helping them uncover what's actually going on there. But there's still an element of that we'll never know. So being able to sit with someone when they're hurting, and even though they're hurting you, is a big thing. So it made me have a really good hard look at myself and how I actually do react. Even when I'm trying to be that pacifist, it's still a reaction. So when I acknowledge people for what isn't accurate, and so the thoughts that are in their head that are just made up thoughts, that sits really awkwardly with me because of my honesty and my integrity. And it's a hard one to process. So it made me look at, how I processed my other things. And it's just practice. So, once upon a time I couldn't share. I wouldn't allow myself to feel emotions. And it was that little practicing of, yep, okay, hi, I'm feeling something right now. And it's there, and thank you for that. I know you're trying to teach me a lesson here. And I processed those emotions, and now I can feel emotions. And now I'm at that level where when I have really big emotions, I'm still learning how to deal with those. And that'll take practice too. That'll be learnings, and I'll have to sit with them and go, okay, all right, this is what here. I know you're trying to teach me a lesson. Thank you. I've got this. And this incident this week was also trying to teach me a lesson. And I didn't realise that because I thought the other person needed teaching a lesson. But it was the other way around. I needed to learn how to let someone express whatever thoughts are in their head without stepping in and keeping them accountable, because that's not my job. My job's to keep myself accountable. And holding space for people is really important. And I'm learning how to hold space for myself finally after all these years as well. And that's a really important thing, holding space for yourself. And we should be doing that first, always. But sometimes, on rare occasions, we can hold it for other people, even though they're hurting us. But those hurts are just from our triggers. They're not actually really causing harm unless we, allow really bad behaviour, wrong choice of word, really unhealthy behaviours to continue. So short term, you can handle that. You've got that. So make sure that you hold space for yourself, and make sure you hold space for other people when they're hurting and incidentally hurting you. And I guess that makes us sit with why we hurt. And we all hurt for various reasons, all very individual, but they all come down to a core hurt or a core fear. And there's layers on top of that and layers on top of that. So you can think you're actually scared of something, but it's not. There's something else deeper underneath there. And one of the main fears that every human has is, will you be there for me? And being there for someone when they're hurting and they're hurting you because they're hurting, it shows so much growth. And I'm glad that I could be called out on that this week, because I do hold myself accountable for my actions. And I didn't realise the extent of me standing up for me was actually causing that behaviour to continue. So it's still a learning process, but I have had some learnings in there. Not completed yet, but there's some, more clarity there, more learnings there for sure. So it's nice to be on the other side of that and hold myself accountable when I'm trying to support others in their accountability. So there's a cool little lesson for you today on sometimes we're all hypocrites and we don't realise it. And I am thankful that I can be called out on that and guided with that, and learn some lessons in that and see what else is there. So thanks for watching and for listening, and I hope that you can sit with this and have a look at yourself too. Be gentle with yourself when you do though, and go, okay, what am I playing into by standing up for myself because I'm a little bit hurt, I'm a little bit triggered? What am I playing into? Instead of being there for someone when they need you. Self-care, self-love. And if you need to step away, step away. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.